Password 1, 2, 3. Okay, hi everyone. Nice to be back in Prague. My name is Per still. You can find me on Twitter. I'm the Chief Security Officer of Nordic Choice Hotels. We are a hotel chain now in Scandinavia, 18,000 employees, 200 hotels, 6 countries. And that was the advertising. And a little bit about me. And I'm actually running PowerPoint on an iPad. So, you know, if something happens, PowerPoint. That's me. That's my previous car. That's my license plate. And for those of you who don't understand Norwegian, that is the Norwegian word for password that I have on my license plate. So my interest in life is passwords and anything that has to do with digital authentication. And I'm actually so obsessed with passwords that some time ago I put out on Twitter, I wrote, I got a reputation to maintain. I have it verbally from Cormac Hurley. He's a researcher with Microsoft Research. With a witness present that he's interested in passwords, well, I'm obsessed with it. Cormac, please confirm statement. And Cormac replies on Twitter, in public, confirm, I have a healthy curiosity, while Thorsheim is pathologically obsessed. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm actually very proud of having that statement from Cormac. I've been researching passwords and password security now for more than 19 years. Actually not interested in beer or football or sports. I'm interested in passwords. So this is what I do. And I'm also 48 years old now. I'm single. It has nothing to do with my obsession in passwords, obviously. And to make it even more sad, I have my own YouTube account, a YouTube channel, where you can find my PasswordsCon, because PasswordsCon is the world's first and only conference which is only about passwords. So I'm doing it again at the Swedish Internet Days in Stockholm in November. All tickets are already sold out, so sorry, you can't come. But I will be streaming, and everything is being put out on internet. So one of the things that I've done, because I have to give a little bit context of what this talk is actually about. And yes, it is about impersonation. What if I could be you? And you don't want me to be you. You do not want me in your systems, or, well, I shouldn't say this since I'm single. There are women in here. You don't want me in your life, period. So what I've done, one of the things I've done is a couple of years ago on World Password Day. Everybody knows World Password Day? Obviously you do. You have to. So for World Password Day 2016, I was contacted by the US National Cybersecurity Alliance. It's an organization with the US government and Microsoft and Google and Apple. Everyone is a member of the National Cybersecurity Alliance in the US. And they asked me if I would help them to write recommendations for, people, users, normal people in the US, consumer advice on passwords. And I did. So what I gave them was, rule number one, make your password a sentence. Even today, in 2019, lots and lots and lots of people don't know that you can use space in your passwords. Because a password is a word, and a word does not contain spaces. So we like to say passphrases. But if I tell my mom to use a passphrase, what's that? She has no idea what a passphrase is. So you have to come up with something simpler. So I did, and I said, make your password a sentence. Something that is easy to remember, very easy. Something positive that your brain wants to remember, something from your past. Again, tip for those that are married, don't include anything that has to do with your wedding anniversary or something like that, because it's, sometimes you forget. Good tip. and suddenly you end up being divorced or, something like that. And you also have to, and this is, I know you're going to hate me for this, but for every account you have, you really should have a unique password. And by unique, I mean unique. It's not like on Facebook you can use Monday1 as your password, and on Twitter you can use Monday2. That's not a good strategy. You need unique passwords. Or as any mathematician or cryptographer would tell you, just do random, right? And use a good random function. And that is because we have so many accounts, you can't remember all those passwords, or at least I can't. I don't have the mental capacity to do that. You know, obviously, I'm a male, so I can't. So that's why I say, write down your passwords. And you can write them down on a piece of paper if you like. And then people, you know, I can see all of you are skeptical, like, did he just say that you can write down your passwords? And yes, I told my own mother. She's now retired. She's been a teacher and a nurse her whole life. I told my mom many years ago, Mom, write down your passwords. And she looked at me like, what? Are you crazy? I've been reading in the newspapers. You should never write down your passwords. My bank keeps telling me all the time, I should remember my PIN code, which is also a password. I should remember my PIN code, don't give it away to anyone, and never write it down. And I said, that's bullshit. And my mother looks at me and like, son, you have to explain. And I said, sure, I will do that. So I have 2 younger sisters, and I also have a father, and my mom and my dad lives together still. And I said to my mom that, you know, you and dad are having a good life now. You're both retired. Sometimes you go to your little summer house in Denmark for vacation, and sometimes you travel around in Europe for the money that you have, and I really hope you enjoy that. But in all honesty, Mom, you and Dad, as previous teachers, you are not targets of Russian or Chinese intelligence. And I'm sorry if you really want to live that James Bond dream, but you're not targets for them. And I'm not either. I'm working for a hotel chain. And everything that I do on passwords is on YouTube. It's, why would you hack me? Well, maybe I have some money because I'm from Norway, but I'm sorry. The only thing I can give you is my mortgage for my house. That's all I have in my bank, basically. So I said to Mom, they are not a threat to you. They have no interest in hacking you. Maybe you and Dad have a bit of money, and because you and Dad have a bit of money, there's another risk, and that is people who have access to your house. Now, my 2 sisters and I, we have access to your house. But if we sort of abused the trust you are giving us so that we would, log into your online bank and transfer all your money into my secret account in Sri Lanka, then I would be in trouble with you and Dad, and most probably the police as well. So I'm pretty sure that myself and my sisters, we are not going to hack you. We are not going to steal your money. Have fun, go traveling, drink wine, have fun with Dad, see the world, enjoy. And then there's only one risk left, and that's Dad. And if my dad, if he would actually face rape my mom's Facebook account, that would just be funny. But would it be a problem? Well, maybe some domestic problems in the house, yes, obviously, but that's about it. And the lesson in this is that you should also trust your colleagues, your friends, your family, at least to a certain level, because we do all the time. And I learned this lesson from a professor at University College of London who has been researching security usability for many, many, many years. German professor, Angela Soss. And she asked me, Per, when you are at work and you decide to go outside and have a cigarette, go to the toilet, go to a meeting room for a phone call, or go for lunch, do you lock your desktop? And I said, duh, yes, obviously, because otherwise I would be hacked by my colleagues. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, so let's say that makes sense, she said. But do you ever leave your credit cards, house keys, car keys, or any cash on your desk? Yeah, I do that all the time. I mean, what's the problem? Aha, she said. So you do trust your colleagues with your house keys, your car keys, credit cards, and cash. But you are afraid they're going to hack your account and send out the message, I'm buying beer for everyone on Friday? Like that would actually make the world go boom. And she has a really good point. So write down your passwords, even on by pen and paper, for a lot of people, because using a password manager is just a bit too difficult still for a majority of people. But if you can, of course, use a password manager. And last but not least, use two-factor authentication, which I think is very, very important. Passwords are good, but if you use two-factor authentication, even better. And to illustrate the value of a password, this happened a few years ago on Twitter. Associated Press, one of the largest news agencies in the world, 1.9 million followers at the time, and suddenly they tweeted, breaking, 2 explosions in the White House and Barack Obama is injured. Now, there never was 2 explosions in the White House, and Barack Obama was never injured in any explosion. And that message only appeared on Twitter, and it only appeared on the Twitter account from Associated Press. Nobody else mentioned this. And I don't know if you are on Twitter. I don't know if your employer are on Twitter or if you have anything to do with social media at all. But do you think that this one single message for one single news agency on Twitter only had an effect on anything? Raise your hand. Some people saw my talk last year, I think. Yes, it did have an effect, because the Dow Jones index actually dropped by 136.5 billion US dollars because of that one single message. And there was a time window there, an opportunity window for you for 7 minutes when the prices were going down and Dow Jones shut down business because they had to examine this message. Has there actually been an explosion? Has the president actually been injured? So they stopped trading and tried to find out, and of course, it was fake news. But why would a serious news agency put out a message saying something like this when it is, real fake news? Well, the Syrian Electronic Army claimed responsibility. Politically motivated hackers who had been able to hijack the account of AP, because at the time, Twitter didn't have two-factor authentication. It was only username and password login. And these hackers sent an email to 3 or 4 employees at AP. It was a spoofed email. It looked like it came from a colleague internally. One of those reporters who received the email clicked in the link and was persuaded into give up the username and the password for the AP Twitter account. And that way, the hackers gained access to it, and they tweeted that one single message. And that was the consequence. So the value of a password is $136.5 billion. And that's just a Twitter account. So if any of you are working with security for any company, my question to you is, have you talked to the team who is handling social media? And are they actually aware of the value of your social media accounts? And do they have a good password for those accounts? And are they using two-factor authentication? Because they really should. And people say, okay, yeah, but passwords, yeah, that's like lame. That's like everybody was doing that like 30 years ago. And now, it's something else which is much, biometrics, much better than passwords. But people also say use two-factor authentication, and we do. We try to do two-factor authentication everywhere, right? And in fact, today, you are using your phone usually when you do two-factor authentication, because the services you use them on your phone. We're using our mobile phone more and more, and we're using desktop or even tablets less than we did before. And in addition to your username and password, you also have a two-factor authentication token, be it from Google Authenticator. It can be a hardware token, but in many, many, many cases, the TOTP will be sent to you by text message, SMS, or even by email. So, I'm interested in this stuff for many, many years. Now, the National Cybersecurity Coordination Center in Norway by the Norwegian government and police and secret service and so on, they have been saying now for several years that email is and remains the most important initial attack vector in order to insert malware inside an organization or network. In fact, 2 years in a row at their annual Congress in Oslo, Norway, they said that during the past year, for all major incidents that we have investigated, we found that every single case started by someone receiving an email. Somebody received an email and clicked or typed in something and did something they shouldn't do. But it's simple social engineering. So hacking, to me, is dead easy. It's social engineering. COD exploits, fuck it, I don't know anything. I can do Hello World and Commodore 64 Basic, that's me. But I can hack anyone with very simple social engineering. So I've been working for many years with the government in Norway and many other people as well, trying to improve standards for email security on a global basis and for the government of Norway. Now, you can't read much of this unless you know Norwegian, but this is the page for the Agency for Public Management and E-Government in Norway. We have an agency for that as well. There are many agencies. And this is about basic data communications. And in March this year, or actually in January this year, they have a catalog of standards that are recommended for all public institutions. They also have some standards that are mandatory for public institutions. And you can consider these also as recommendations for any private company like my employer, but it's not like you have to do this. And what they did back in January is they updated the list of standards they recommend. And those include having support for DNSSEC, signing your domain with DNSSEC and using a DNS server that actually does DNSSEC resolving. They also recommend to implement DANE support, start TLS, CAA records, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC for email, and also MTA, STS, and TLS reporting. I'm not going to explain all of them, but all of these are good. These are internet standards. These are RFCs. Implement them to get better email security. Convince your government to implement this, please. EU is actually already recommending these at an EU level, so you can tell your own government that EU is actually recommending to do this, so you should as well in Czech Republic. And this doesn't solve email security because social engineering always works, but this will actually improve the security of email from unauthenticated, unencrypted, to actually using mandatory authenticated encryption. And if you know a few things about encryption, you know that is a significant upgrade in security, which is good. So again, my talk is supposed to be about mobile phone attacks and identity theft. Now I've been talking about stuff you probably already know, and which is, is lame because it's old passwords and email. I'm a dinosaur. I'm 48 years old, right? So this old gentleman here, he's retired now, working for the Norwegian government agency for financial supervision and regulation. And back in 2013, he was interviewed, and he said that nowadays, 6 years ago in Norway, nowadays, he said, more and more people are using their phone for everything. You have your nude pictures in here, and if you don't have them, you're lying. And you have your bank in here, and you have your Facebook accounts in here, and you pretty much have your life inside this little device. And he said that we are afraid that we are going to see a very exponential wave of mobile phone attacks in the very near future. I'm not going to say he was wrong, but now it's been 6 years. And he said he was expecting it soon. Soon, is that 6 years? No, I would say that's a lifetime on the internet. So it hasn't happened yet. But I was fascinated about that statement at the time because I was also very curious about the security of mobile phones 6 years ago. Now, well, you can just read the text. You probably have an idea of what that is. I was sitting at home back in August in my living room watching Netflix together with a woman. We had turned down the lights. We were having something to drink or something to eat. And suddenly it says pling in her phone. And I'm being polite, so I stopped the Netflix video. I hate being interrupted. But I don't say anything, and I don't look at her phone. She just starts typing in. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just wait. And suddenly she says, is it normal that Netflix asks for your social security number? And I'm like, holy fuck, lights on, Netflix off, give me that phone now. That's the message. So we couldn't invoice your membership for this current month. Try again or update your payment information. And here's the link to Netflix. So she had just given away her username and her password for Netflix. And now she was just about to enter her social security number, which you need if you want to break into someone's online banking account in Norway. So I was like, okay, we got to change your Netflix password like right now. No, not tomorrow, not later, not after the movie, now. Sorry, but romance, this is more important. So, and there you have, a spoofed message or a trick message of some sort. So one of the things that happened to me, I started working now for Norway Choice Hotels on August 1st, 2017, a bit over 2 years ago. And I have been a customer of Telenor, which is the largest telecom company in Norway since the dawn of time, more or less. Never used anyone else. And on day one at work, a Tuesday, I'm being asked, what's your name and what's your phone number? And we will transfer your current subscription with Telenor over to the Swedish company Telia, which we use because we will be paying for your phone subscription. And I was like, oh, awesome, cool. Yeah, of course you can pay for my phone usage. But you only need my name and my number? Yeah, okay, well, my name is Per, obviously, and my phone number is 9099259. Okay, good. And then they hand me an envelope and saying, here's our new SIM card. And I was fascinated because shouldn't they have my signature somewhere or should I identify myself so that, there's some security involved? Nah, not needed. So I was told that what we do now, they said, we send an email, very, very secure messaging protocol, to Telia, and saying that, hey, Per's phone number is this, and he's going to be transferred from Telenor to Telia. And we will take the bill for that. And I was like, what? Is that easy? Yeah, that's what we do all the time. And we are a hotel chain. We actually employ 8,000 people per year because we have a really high turnover in the industry. So I got a new SIM, and I'm being told that, well, and this was on Tuesday, and they tell me that on Friday at 12 noon, you can take out your old SIM card and insert this new one, and then you will be a Telia customer, and we are paying for everything, for your phone usage. What actually happened is that this porting, as it's called, porting your number to another operator, actually happened on Thursday, one day before it was supposed to happen, at 12 noon. So that leaves me with less than 48 hours to detect that, hey, something is happening to my subscription. I have to find out what's going on. I have to understand what's going on, and I have to act on it. Now, what if somebody did this to me while I was sleeping, while I was on vacation, while my phone, for some reason, didn't work? Because if you can do this to anyone in Czech Republic, Mikael, are you here? Would you like to come work for me? So I can call any telecom provider in Czech Republic, and I can say, Mikael is going to start working for me, and his number is the following. And then the interesting part is, will they just initiate the process of moving his current subscription over to them and a SIM card that I have in my hand? Because that means in 48 hours, all incoming text messages and phone calls to Mikael will come to me. We have good salaries in Norway. Did I tell you that? 48 hours. But even more terrifying is you can also, in Norway at least, you can also ask for a quick port out of your number, and this process will be completed within 2, 3, 4 hours. So if you're in a full-day meeting and you don't have the ability to check your phone, imagine yourself coming out of that meeting and your phone doesn't work anymore. You can't call anyone, you can't use Facebook, and nobody can call you or text you because somebody else is you. And what also did happen in this process is I got a text message from Telenor on the left saying, hey, it's a shame you don't want to stay with us anymore, but best of luck, ta-da. And we have a small customer survey we want you to respond to, and they're using an HTTP link. Yay. And from Telia, my new provider, they are sending me a text message, hey, we have now transferred your number to us. Have a nice day. And that is coming from an invalid phone number. You can't call that number. You can't respond back to that number at all. So how if I wonder, who is this? I can't call them. I will have to find out who the hell is Telia and find their customer support number and call them. What happened just now? And those are the 2 text messages I received, one before being ported and one after I had been ported to a new provider. And those 2 messages would be the only thing, as an example, that Mikael would receive that would enable him to figure out what the hell is going on. So mobile hijacking is interesting, and there are many different ways to talk about this. We had a port-out attack, which I just explained to you. There's also simswap, spoofing attacks, and traditional fraud attacks. Port-out attack, here's an interesting story, because after this happened to me, I started to work a little bit more on figuring out how bad is this? How deep does the rabbit hole actually go on this? And in January and February last year, I contacted the largest financial newspaper in Norway and said, hey, I have a story for you that I think you would be interested in. And I made an agreement with them that they would start working on this. There are certain things, hacking things, that I can't do legally, but as a newspaper, as a media organization, they are sort of allowed to do things because it's in the public interest. So we made an agreement they would start looking into this. And while they were working on this, before the first story got published, we had a Norwegian minister who traveled to Iran with his 30 years old, younger, new Iranian girlfriend. And if you are a minister in Norway, under the current political climate, you're really not supposed to go to Iran for any reason. And if you, for some reason, choose to do, you have to tell the police, the secret police, the prime minister, and a lot of other organizations as well. He did not. And when he came back, the media found out that he had been in Iran because the Iranian government contacted the Norwegian government and said, hey, we know your minister is visiting our country, and we were wondering, can we have a meeting with him? Now, obviously, someone in Norwegian government were a little bit surprised about that phone call from Iran. And when he came back, of course, it's like, yep, you got to go. You can't be a minister anymore. And he had explanations like, yeah, well, but I've been around. So he said that I know a thing or two about security. And as an example, my phone was turned off most of the time, and I just left it in my hotel room when I was out. Brilliant, genius, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, nobody can hack your device, but you can access it physically, right? That's impossible. See, he had to go on this. And the portal attack, when the newspaper in Norway chose to publish the first story, they had made an agreement with Sophie Elise, young female blogger, very, very famous in Norway. Everybody knows who she is. And they had made an agreement with her. Can we try to sort of hack you? And she said yes. So the newspaper sends out a young female reporter on the street, finds some salespeople there selling phone subscriptions, and she walks over to them. This is on video. It's a 3-minute, 19-second long video, which is available for free online. And she walks up there and says, hey, I would like to be a customer of your telecom company. And they say, oh, awesome, cool, yeah. Do you have some ID? She says, well, anything will work. They are supposed to ask for driver's license or passport. And this female reporter says, well, I do have a business card that says Sophie Elise. And we printed it on our office printer like 30 minutes ago. And the sales guys are like, awesome. And they started the process of transferring her phone number to their company and a new SIM card. 3 minutes and 19 seconds on the street. And as you can imagine, she was like, not good. Really not good at all. And that was the first story they came out with. So simswap can be about getting a new SIM card for your current subscription. So I'm not moving your subscription to a new provider. I'm not making changes to your data plan or anything or price plan at all. It's just like, I've had this SIM card for 4 years and it's ugly. I want a new one with a different logo on it. So you just go to a telecom shop and say that and give out Mikael's name. Hi, I'm Mikael, and I need a new SIM card. And the question is, will they give you a SIM card for his subscription? Because if they do, his phone is going to stop working like that, and suddenly, you are Mikael. Would that be fun? Raise your hands. Would it be fun to be Mikael for a day? Yes! It would be awesome. I'm pretty sure about it. All the things you could do. You can also get a twin SIM card. I don't know if you can do that in Czech Republic. I presume you can do that. So that you can have 2 phones, and both of them will ring, and the text message will arrive on both phones. That is also not a change to your subscription in any way. It's just getting an additional SIM card. You can also get a data SIM card. So some of the things you can do in Norway is, when you buy a phone subscription, you can't be anonymous. You have to provide, you are supposed to provide passport or driver's license. And not only that, but because if you're getting a new phone subscription, they will also do a credit check of you. And the funny thing is, I've been asking lots of Norwegians about this. I've been asking them, why do you think they do a credit check of you when you're getting a new phone subscription? And they're like, oh yeah, because that's, they want to be certain that I can pay the bill. Seriously? They need to figure out if you're capable of paying 10 euros per month for phone subscription. Is that necessary? Oh, yeah, I guess. It's not. The reason for why they are doing a credit check is to verify your identity. Because a long time ago, when I was young and handsome compared to now, people suddenly got their very first mobile phone. And suddenly they also got the feature of sending text messages. And I know firsthand from working at the telecom provider and talking to the police that one of the first messages that were ever sent by text message in Norway was like, "Fuck you, you asshole, you are going to die." And from there, it's just going upwards with threats. So the Norwegian government has basically decided that in order for you to send death threats by SMS, we want to know who you are. It's a good principle, in my opinion. And I know you can get anonymous SIM cards here in Czech Republic. I don't know how that's working for you. So approximately 72,000 Norwegian people now, and we are 5.5 million in Norway altogether. 72,000 people approximately now have blocked for the ability to credit check them. Because credit check is an essential part of obtaining a loan or also obtaining a new phone subscription, which is very commonly used for identity theft. And there have also been stories with politicians who have experienced having their phone hijacked, and as a consequence of that, suddenly they are getting tons of messages from banks saying, "Here's your new loan for 5,000 euros with an interest rate of 37% per year," as an example. And you don't want that to happen to you. So what happens then? Well, this is a question about identity. Who are you? We need to know who you are. And not only that, but if I am ordering a new phone subscription for me, Carl, if I'm going to start working for you or whatever, I also want to make sure you are actually allowed to do what you're trying to do now. And this became very interesting because, again, the newspaper in Norway, Dagens Næringsliv, they published a lot of articles in just a few days, and 2 weeks approximately. And one of the things they found is that the provider that I'm using now, my employer is using now, Swedish company Telia, they found out that in Sweden, where they originate from, Telia is required by law, by the government, to verify passport or driver's license, and also to do online digital verification, which is according to EU standards. But Telia also operates in Norway, where you have the exact same functions for verifying your online identity as in Sweden. But Telia doesn't do this in Norway. And when a newspaper asked Telia, "You do this in Sweden, why don't you do that in Norway?" The answer was, "We do everything that we are required by the Norwegian government to do," which is nothing. So Telia essentially didn't really try to figure out who you are, or are you allowed to do what you're trying to do now. And obviously, a scandal. So what happened is, our Minister of Digitalization in Norway, he went directly to the Norwegian Communications Authority and instructed them, and for a minister to go and instruct anyone in the government to do specifically one thing, that is harsh. And he did. He contacted them. He actually went to them by car and said, "I want you to start working right now together with the telecom industry in Norway to implement countermeasures for mobile hijacking and to figure out better ways to do identification and authorization." And at the same time, I was looking at the Federal Trade Commission in the US, because they have written quite a bit about these things. As an example, here's from Laurie Craner, who was working at FTC as a technology officer there. She wrote, "I asked all the major mobile carriers what consumers could do to protect themselves from mobile account takeover. One of the most important steps you can take is to establish a password or PIN that is required before making changes to your mobile account. Each of the carriers offers this feature to the customers in a slightly different way. I don't know if this exists with any providers in Czech Republic, What I can tell you is these features does not exist with any providers in Norway. There's nothing you can do as a consumer in Norway to basically make sure nobody can hijack your account. So I just gave you the recipe of hijacking my account, my phone number in Norway. Bad idea. Mikael, don't even try. Yeah. So this resulted in, Dagens Næringsliv newspaper with Sophia Elise on the front page. This is scandalous, sloppy. Aftenposten, the largest newspaper in Norway, says, way too easy to trick the telecom operators. Absolute scandal. The minister goes on stage with the government and says, essentially, the telecom providers have broken the law in Norway. Period. They have been doing things they are not allowed to do. So we are back to, again, the question of spoofing. What if I could be you? Well, it's an interesting question. And Mikael is always my volunteer without knowing it. So, I'm using my phone. Okay, so I'm clicking a button now. And did anyone receive a text message right now? Jan, are you here? Did you get a text message? Not yet? You just got a text message. Who did you get a text message from?
From Mikael.
From Mikael, okay. Ooh! And what does the message say?
Tell everyone that I'm buying beer for everyone tonight.
Yay! Finally, we have a sponsor for tonight. You know this could have been worse. I'm just telling. I did speak with Veronica about this one. That message was actually sent by me. And I was using a very cheap commercial service somewhere in the world where I can send text messages or make phone calls, and I can just type in the number of the one I'm going to text or call, and I can type in the number of the person I should be sending from. And that person can be any number in any country. So I can call you from North Korea, from Chairman Kim, if I just knew his number. I could call you from him. An interesting thing is, when you get such a message, when you get a text message today, or if you get a phone call today, you simply cannot trust that text message or that phone call to come from whatever name or number you see on the display. It's way too easy to spoof. And telling people that you can't trust this, that's a problem because there's no real solution to it. I mean, yes, use Signal. Everyone should use Signal, and that's it. Doesn't work with my mom, at least. I don't know with your moms, or grandmothers, but with my mom, it doesn't work. She says, no, I'm good with phone calls and text messages, period. So, as an example again, another newspaper in Norway just published a story about the chasing Max. This is a man somewhere in Norway. He has been arrested now, and the police is still investigating him. But the newspaper brought a story about a woman called Nina. And Nina said that I'm aware of security. I have actually turned on two-factor authentication with Google, Twitter, Instagram, and other services, Snapchat, that I'm using. But she said that suddenly one morning she woke up and she had verification codes or password reset links being sent to her phone from Google, from Apple, from Microsoft. And she was like, what the hell? I didn't order these. And these were ordered in the middle of the night at 3:35 that's when Mikael normally works, in the middle of the night, she received these messages, and she woke up to all these. And when she tried to get into her Google account, her Apple account, and so on, she was locked out. What had happened? Well, the newspaper investigated this, and they found that Norwegian telecom providers, all of them, they have a service called SMS copy, which you can get for free, but you have to go into your account, my account with your telecom provider, and turn it on. And when you do that, any text message that is being sent to you can also be sent to another phone number or by email to any email address you configure. So the bad guy in question, who's now being investigated for hacking more than 50 women across Norway, stealing videos, pictures, documents, phone numbers, contacts, access to all their social media accounts. What he basically did was to hack their password into their account with the telecom provider, because the telecom providers do not have any two-factor authentication, and they also allow really, really bad passwords. And because of that, 50 women have had their lives destroyed. And I fucking hate men who does that. So this can have very serious consequences for people at all levels. And a short while ago, the Norwegian government issued a new hearing, a document being sent out, and everybody can answer to this one. And they are basically saying that we are suggesting new actions to prevent mobile hijacking. And they want the public, people like me, anyone, to respond and say, hey, what do you think about this? Does this sound reasonable to you? And that's what they are going to do. And I'm going to respond to this. I have started writing on my text. And one of the things that I can do in Norway as well is that when I write my response, initially my response will be publicly available. So even you can request to see my response. But there are so many different ways on how to exploit what I have told you now, and also how to abuse it for different purposes. Many ways I haven't had the time to tell you on how to do this. So parts of my reply to the government will also be excluded from being made public because it's just too dangerous, in my opinion. And that's where we are now in Norway. And what are the consequences of this? Well, if you've ever watched the news, you know, you have heard that Russia had something to do with the election of Donald Trump. You might have heard about Russia possibly influencing Brexit as well in the UK. There are many people, many countries in EU that are worried that either Russia or the US or, Iceland for that matter, would try to influence the elections in many different countries. Now let's say that your elections in Czech Republic will be on Monday. And on today, tonight, or maybe tomorrow evening, I know the phone number of a lot of controversial politicians in Czech Republic. And I will send messages that looks like they are coming from those politicians. And I will send those text messages to radio stations, TV stations, and newspapers around Czech Republic. And you are a reporter working in one of these places, and you receive one of these messages, and it's controversial. It's like, we are going to stop educating people for IT and security in Czech Republic because it's stupid. We don't need that stuff. Controversial statement. Now, you would be an idiot to believe this, but the problem for a newspaper, for a reporter right there and then is, whoa! And I received this just now from this very famous, very controversial politician. And chances are that that politician might have sent the same message to other reporters as well. So if I publish the story now, I'm going to be first, and I will make lots of money from people clicking my story. But if I don't publish until like tomorrow, because I want to check the facts of this, all the other people will publish the story first, and I don't have anything. If you could do this at scale, not with one politician, not with 10, if you could do this with 100 politicians or 1,000 politicians, if you could do this with reporters, with artists, with, bloggers or YouTubers, you could create a lot of problems in an incredibly easy way. And that's what I'm afraid of. And that's also why I'm working really hard, not only in Europe, in Norway, but also with other countries, trying to educate about the risks of mobile hijacking and email security, and trying to convince governments to implement better security and recommend better standards for public and private organizations. With that, thank you. Contact information. And yes, don't take pictures of my phone number. That actually is my real phone number as well. Use Signal, please. Questions?
Okay, are there any questions? Question was, what's your passport?
5, 7.
That's the cyclic change, every 90 days. You increase the number at the end of the password. That's how everybody does it. There's a question over there.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello?
I have a question. Where do you see personally the borderline between security and comfort? I mean, can we have both at the same time, according to your opinion?
Yes.
Or is it contradictory?
No,
I can give you an example.
It's absolutely not contradictory. It is possible, but security people like myself need to attend a couple of classes of usability. And all the usability people need to attend years and years and years of security training. All the designers, all the CEOs needs to be taught about security. Sorry. But it is possible, yes. And as an example, in the world of password and authentication, if you haven't looked at it, look at WebAuthn. Implement WebAuthn support on your pages. It provides a better usability experience because you can sign up for an account without actually setting a password for your account. You can have a hardware device, or you can use even your Android phone. Google has implemented U2F, FIDO, WebAuthn support in Android 7 and newer versions of Android. So there are currently now approximately 1 billion devices in the world that can be used as a hardware authentication token towards your Google account. So setting up an account and logging into Google will be type in your email address and click one button on your phone and you're done. And that authentication is really, really secure, and I would say easy to do. But obviously you have to tell people about it. You have to teach them that, yes, this is easy to use and secure. That takes time. Yeah? More questions? Next talk is in 5 minutes, so run Forrest, run. Yep.
Okay, so is enabling two-factor verification a good advice after all, with it being tied to a phone number most of the time?
Yeah, I think one of the problems that many services have today is that when they initially implemented two-factor authentication, they chose to use SMS. So if you go out in the street in Prague today and ask people do you use two-factor authentication? People will say, yes. What kind of two-factor authentication do you use? Oh, text messages. Now, then trying to convince people that text messages, it's better than nothing, but it's not secure enough. You should move into using WebAuthn as an example. I think most providers today, Facebook and Twitter and so on, they have a major problem trying to convince people to make that move. So if you don't have two-factor authentication today, but you want two-factor authentication, implement WebAuthn support first. And only if really, really, really needed, implement SMS two-factor authentication.
Yeah, well, I mean, having a strong password alone is most of the time better than having two-factor authentication with SMS. So.
Yeah, I mean, two-factor authentication doesn't mean that you can have a really bad password. On the contrary, you should always have a strong password.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all done. Thank you again.
Time is up. Thank you.